the John and Ken Show.
Yeah.
John Cobell and Ken Champeau.
Well, are we on the verge? Well, have we already started global cooling? First of all, we want to tell you that 2013 is not over. Are you aware of that? However, it's been a pretty mild weather year. Not a single hurricane had formed this year until yesterday, when Humberto did reach the necessary miles per hour and hurricane definition out there in the Atlantic off of the coast of Africa. But by the way, they think that's going to peter out.
Yeah, you have to.
Nothing.
A hurricane has to hit 75 miles an hour to be called a hurricane. And if it had taken 3 more hours to get to 75, it would have been the latest first hurricane of the season in the Atlantic since they started keeping records. Always have to point that out. Their number of years they've been keeping records for all this is very, very short.
Yeah, there's only been 17 years since they did their record keeping or started it back in 1851 when the first Atlantic hurricane formed after September 4th. And that happened this year. The average season, the first hurricane shows up by August 10th.
The government had predicted that because of higher than average water temperatures, we were going to have a higher than average number of hurricanes. They expected 7 to 11 hurricanes. Humberto is the first hurricane. There have been some tropical storms.
We still have through the end of November, though, the official hurricane season.
So
we're running behind track.
This is all done on computer modeling, and computer modeling is a joke, and it's a hoax. It's absurd.
Computer modeling?
Because they only have a small number of years of record keeping, especially complex record keeping, which you need for a computer model. We just haven't been around that long to keep track of this stuff. And they keep insisting that they know stuff that they don't know. You know, it's not even that they're wrong. It's that they don't know, and they have no way of knowing. They have no way of being right or wrong. It's impossible.
The reason I want to talk about this is because for years, the side that believes the end is near and Al Gore and all that always cite the current weather, which I don't like to do, but they do it, so we'll do it. We'll tell you that this year is one of the mildest tornado years also. Heat waves are fewer and milder this year.
Well, the reason...
All the weather data for 2013 shows a very, very quiet year.
Well, the reason it's right for us to cite the weather is they made the claims. They made the claims. They said there were going to be more tornadoes, more hurricanes, no ice in the Arctic, increasingly hot weather. They made those claims. You have to stand up and point out that every year now for 15 years... they've been wrong. After Hurricane Katrina, they claimed more intense hurricanes. It hasn't happened. It simply hasn't happened. They are wrong. They make the claim, so every time they make a claim and another year goes by and it turns out their claim is false, it has to be pointed out. When you're wrong for 15 years, maybe you were wrong from your premise. Maybe the whole premise was absurd. And I don't care if it's 92 or 95 or 98% of scientists who think, global warming is real. After 15 years of no increase in the temperatures, they're all wrong, okay? You go back a few thousand years, and 100% of the people would think that, the fire god was flying in a chariot across the sky. Everybody believed that at the time. They're wrong. This is just another religion, a modern-era secular religion.
And then there's this. Apparently back in 2007, a report on the BBC said that global warming would leave the Arctic ice-free by the summer of 2013, which is where we are.
Okay.
We're at the end of the summer.
So if you go to the Arctic Circle now in the summer of 2013, and you're expecting to see an enormous ice-free zone, and you could sail your little ship over the top of the world, you will actually find a 60% increase in ice compared to a year ago. 60% increase. There is an unbroken ice sheet more than half the size of Europe, stretching from the Canadian islands to Russia's northern shores. It's a huge Arctic ice sheet, much bigger than last year, and they have photographs to prove it. In fact, more than 20 yachts that were going to sail through the Northwest Passage have been left icebound, and a cruise ship was forced to turn back. So 20 guys took their yachts thinking they could sail through the Arctic Circle. And they're stuck in ice.
920,000 square miles ice sheet grew in a year, according to this report.
You know what? I like to go by my eyes rather than a computer model. And since my eyes can look at the August 2012 ice sheet and then the August 2013 ice sheet, and you could see the 920,000 square mile increase, my eyes tell me that there's no global warming going on. My eyes tell me that there's way, way, way more ice in the freaking summertime than there was a year ago. How about that? Now, a few months ago, they had a story that global warming has paused since the beginning of 1997, an event that the computer models used by climate experts failed to predict. That's another thing. They were predicting that the global warming was going to happen now, right? All the massive amount of carbon dioxide that we added in 1997, 1998, 99, 2000, and on, right? Right up to 2013. That's a lot of extra carbon dioxide, right? Well, what happened? All that extra carbon dioxide should have had some effect. Anything? Nothing. Again, the premise was wrong. The information they fed into the computer model was wrong because there's not that many years that they have records. In fact, when it comes to the Arctic ice sheet, the first time they were able to photograph the Arctic ice sheet from a satellite was 1979. That was only 34 years ago. So out of 4.5 billion years of this planet's existence, if that number's right, we have 34 years of data. So they're going to predict how thick or how vast the ice sheet's going to be? That's not possible.
That's always been our problem with this. There's not enough weather records to...
Well, you see this.
So all hail, maybe a period of global cooling is coming for a couple of decades.
You see this stuff in sports too, right? They use these computer models to predict how the NFL is going to turn out, how baseball is going to turn out, this, that, and the other thing. And often they're wrong because you don't know. It's played by human beings. and you can't predict the variations in a human being's performance. It's not possible. The premise is absurd. I don't understand. We got some weird obsession with predicting.
Speaking of the absurd, when we come back, bye-bye Wiener. Of course, yesterday he barely polled 5% in the